Sure.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Blockchain and Beyond. As always, I'm your host, Farzan. On today's episode, I'm joined by a very special guest. He's working on a platform for traders and for people interested in DeFi. And he has quite an interesting background in the internet industry as well. So I'm very excited to introduce Dan to the show. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be joining you.
Amazing, great. So Dan, I know you've done just to help get just to help people get an understanding of your background and where you're from. I kind of want to touch on some of your earlier work that you've done. The biggest thing is probably you've done a lot of work with ISPs. I believe you started one of the first ISPs in Israel many years ago when the internet was in its early days. It would be good to know about your experience with that and how you kind of across to that space.
Sure. Well, yeah, many moons ago, when I was still in high school, uh, I was kind of like a self-taught programmer. I literally wrote my first basic program on an Atari 800 XL when I was 10 years old. And bought my first PC. It was a 386 from my bar mitzvah money, and and learned Pascal and all that. So, like from books,
Hmm.
etc. And you know, when I was in what is it, like 11th grade or something, or 12th grade, in high school, it was 94 at the
Hmm.
time. I actually, we didn't have the internet in Israel, and I actually started at the time kind of like maybe a world first, really, an Israeli internet that was not connected to the world. It was kind of like a mix between, it was a BBS, if you know what that
Hmm.
is,
Yeah.
but based on internet technologies. At the time, it was all text based, so
Hmm.
it was with uh, one of the very first Linux kernels, like zero point 0.0 something, I can't
Hmm.
remember exactly. Basically, we let people uh, come into a text-based internet with a links, kind of like a text browser,
Hmm.
and even an IRC uh,
Okay.
that we built internally with and kind of hacked it to work in Hebrew and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then a little after that, it was finally legal
Hmm.
to connect to the internet from Israel, and so I started one of the very first internet service providers at the time. So we connected to the U.S. and essentially let people, uh, get access to the internet. So it was a very interesting experience, still in high school and for several years thereafter, kind of being in that scene. It was never a huge company or anything, and there were a lot of companies that came into the space with, hundreds of millions of dollars of investments that was very difficult to compete with. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience. Built all sorts of cool stuff. You know, was doing some of the very first things in the space in Israel at the time. 94, 95, 96.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's quite cool because I think it kind of shows that, from an early age you've been building and tinkering with things and even, making a first sort of pseudo internet within Israel for people to, communicate via text
Yeah.
is, I think it's amazing how how you were able to do that, and I personally I couldn't have done that. So I think you definitely must have been a lot more dedicated and interested in learning programming, because especially during those times where you had to learn it from books, it was I presume it was much harder than it is today.
Infinitely so.
Yeah.
Now you can just Google anything and get, you know, solutions. Hell, now you can go to Chat
Yeah.
GPT and ask it to write code for you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've used that, and it actually does work. you do have to do sometimes figure out a few bugs, but it really can streamline the process, so it's much easier now
Indeed.
than it used to be. Um, so now we're jumping forward many years, and now you've kind of moved into, I would say, the Web3 blockchain space. So what has been your background in the blockchain space so far?
Well, I got into it, I would say, around 2012 or so. So it's
Hmm.
already a decade, which is
Yep.
kind of crazy. Uh, yeah, at the time I was kind of tinkering with it,
Hmm.
figuring it out a little bit. Um, and in 2014, I actually created a coin. Uh, it was a not-for-profit project. It was called IsraCoin,
Hmm.
and it was designed to be kind of like an alternative to the Israeli currency that would be owned and controlled by the people. It was a very interesting experience. It even, at a certain point, it even got on a few exchanges, and suddenly, for a brief moment, I think in late 2014 or early 15 or something like that, it actually became number 4 on Coin Market Cap,
Oh wow. Okay.
which is nuts.
Yeah.
For a brief moment, right? It
Hmm.
wasn't,
Yeah.
and this was before Ethereum,
Hmm.
etc. So it was a very interesting, but it was not for profit, but it was a very interesting experience. And you know, at some point I didn't continue with it, but there's only so much that you can do not profit. But later on in 2017 and 18, I built or was co-founder of a company that was creating institutional grade trading solutions
Hmm.
for crypto. The crypto winter, unfortunately, killed it.
Yeah.
It was a little too early and very difficult to fundraise, etc. But again, uh, you know, I keep coming back to the space because I know that it's where we need to go.
Hmm.
We need disintermediation. We need people to have control of their finances. We need to remove trust. Maybe even if we can't do it all completely, any degree where we give people more control and less control to others, I think is good and important. And this is why DeFi, to me is very important. I think we need it more and more. And in when the whole DeFi craze started, I looked at the market and tried to figure out, hey, what should I be doing here
Hmm.
that would improve things? Uh, and that's how Ultrade was born in late 2021. Um, I guess I kind of started it in September or so of 2021, where I looked at the market and I realized that on the one hand, we don't have enough non-custodial trading, right? There's too much centralized exchanging and not enough decentralized exchange trading, uh, and we need to move more and more volumes to that. Now, one impediment is the lack of tools. So, with all due respect, AMMs are a great tool, but it's only one, and we need more. We need order book trading, etc. as well.
Hmm.
So we needed better, higher quality tooling that is similar in experience and capabilities to what you get in centralized exchanges, only non-custodial. And
Hmm.
if the recent FTX debacle hasn't convinced someone that we need non-custodial trading, so there's no shenanigans of misappropriation of user funds, then I don't
Hmm.
know what will convince them.
Yeah.
Um, so this is what I thought we should be doing, and I started building tools, but then I realized something. It's only half the problem.
Hmm.
The other half is that we have these behemoths, like centralized exchanges or decentralized ones, Binance or Uniswap, doesn't matter. All these behemoths that kind of control the market on the one hand,
Hmm.
and all of these would be copycats, Uniswap, SushiSwap, whatever swap,
Yeah.
ad nauseum swap, and so on, and they're vying and trying to get users.
Hmm.
And it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. All of them, the big ones, the small ones, they're all spending insane amounts of money on customer acquisition costs, what's
Yeah.
known in the industry as CAC.
Hmm.
And, they're fighting with each other, and it's unsustainable. On the other hand, we have a ridiculous situation where there are literally thousands and thousands of Web3 brands that are not DEXs, right? Anything, it can be an NFT platform, it can be GameFi, InsuranceFi, whatever, all sorts of Web3 related companies and brands, and they have users and they provide a service or a product, but whenever their user actually needs some kind of trading service, and it can
Hmm.
be generic, right, to just get general trading going on, or it could be for the actual brand's own token,
Yeah.
right? They want to buy it or trade it. Either way, what does the brand do? They actually tell you, go away. Go somewhere else. You want to trade? Go to Binance. You want to trade? Go to Uniswap. You want to trade our token? Go somewhere else. It doesn't
Hmm.
make sense. It's crazy. They are losing user retention. They are losing brand value. They are increasing friction,
Hmm.
and they are missing out on a revenue stream from trading fees.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense. And what kills me is that, trading is no longer differentiated, right? I mean, Binance or FTX, God rest its soul, or, down the list of 400 exchanges, it's all
Hmm.
the same. Order book trading, the solution is the same.
Yeah.
Yes, liquidity is different, and that's important. We can talk about that separately,
Hmm.
but the technology is the same. And it's also, by the same token, it's also indexes, right? So Uniswap, SushiSwap, whatever swap, it's all the same. So if it's all the same, it's generic, then why do brands need to can't provide that as a value add service to their users and send them elsewhere? So
Hmm.
there's a dissonance in the market. It just doesn't make sense. Something is not right in the way the market is structured. And this is what Ultrade is solving.
Hmm.
So, we are not a B2C company. We are not going to users saying, hey, come use our DEX because it has this feature or that feature.
Hmm.
No, that's a surefire way to kill a company and become one of those, DEXs that have no usage and will never make it anywhere. No, we are a B2B company. We are building what we call DeFi-As-A-Service infrastructure. And what it means is that any brand out there can literally come to us and in 5 minutes spin up and embed a fully functioning uh, DeFi trading platform in their own uh, website or app with their own brand, zero coding, just boom, 5 minutes, done. And start providing those services to their users under their own brand, but with an existing liquidity, a shared liquidity network. So you don't have to jumpstart the liquidity. You can start providing the services and collect the fees from your own users.
Hmm.
We are, want to call it democratizing. We're making it so that any brand can just provide the value add service to their users at zero cost, zero resources,
Hmm.
nothing but upside.
Yeah.
That's Ultrade.
Wow. So there is quite a lot to unpack there.
Sure.
I will start from, I think the first idea is you talk about, brand identity. A lot of, platforms and brands say, yeah, if you want to, buy a token, go visit this exchange or that exchange, and you're effectively promoting, not necessarily competition, but you're driving attention away from your own brand.
Yeah,
And, in today's age of marketing and, just social media, having eyes on your brand is the biggest thing for any company, any individual, anyone looking to, grow some sort of following.
that's exactly right.
So I think that's a massive thing that you're solving. And I'll call them quote unquote solutions that exist aren't necessarily the greatest. The solutions you see traders on Twitter who say, oh yeah, use my referral code on, FTX
Yeah,
or Binance, and you'll get some fees back. And obviously that person gets a kickback themselves, but it's not necessarily encompassing of what they're doing. They're still selling their own brand out to Binance
that's
or,
exactly right.
KuCoin. And it diminishes away from that person's time and effort they've put into building that identity behind them.
Correct.
And I like what you said about being able to embed a DeFi trading suite within a few lines of code that you will be able to generate from some sort of portal. You can add your own logo, your own colors. It'll be fully customizable, so it matches with your brand.
That's
If your
exactly
theme
right.
is purple, you can make the decks purple themed. Or if you're some sort of whatever swap, you can like rainbow swap, you can make your DeFi platform look exactly how you want it. So
Mhm.
your users feel like they're using something that belongs to that platform. And
Yeah.
I think that is it's almost like a second order effect of these markets, where people don't necessarily see the idea that, okay, yeah, I am selling myself out for next to nothing when I could be potentially retaining my brand and retaining attention. So I think that the idea behind Ultrade is it can solve a lot of problems. And then I think that, sort of directly leads into the next thing you mentioned, which is liquidity. So would you like to explain what the liquidity issue is potentially on centralized exchanges or even decentralized exchanges, and how Trade, takes it a step up?
Well, sure. I mean, it's really not that complicated. Every exchange has and needs liquidity, right? But centralized or decentralized. But if you're starting your own, obviously sourcing the liquidity is very difficult. So what we're doing instead is kind of like creating the technology that enables, the trading, right? So we do both order books and AMMs. Later on, also perpetuals and lending and borrowing, etc. But every partner has their own access point, right? So they serve as an access to the network with their own brand, but ultimately everybody's trading with the same liquidity pools and the same order books and so on. So you're, as a brand, you're not uh, siloed to and you don't need to build your own liquidity. You're just sharing it together with everybody.
Mhm,
Uh, but it's still your brand, and you're collecting the fees from your users.
mhm,
So when a user trades through you, you're earning the fees for that with a rev share with Ultrade, of course, but still you get the majority of the fees from it. So, uh, you know, the whole concept of building your own exchange doesn't make sense for a brand. That's not their business.
mhm,
But embedding an existing solution that carries with it a shared liquidity cloud and a tool that, as you said, a portal or an
mhm.
admin panel that literally in minutes
Yeah.
you can customize everything you just said, the colors, the logo, you can even decide which trading pairs you want to list.
Okay.
So for example, um, in the order book
Mhm,
solution, you might only want to list a certain pairs, not everything that's available. So in the admin panel, one click, you can decide what pair to list and which ones you don't want. And not only that, you can actually even create your own pair for your own token in the order book, not just the AMM.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And instantly list it. But guess what? And this is where some of the cool stuff about network effects comes in, because the moment that you list your own token for trading, every other partner in the network can see that pair in their admin panel, and in one click, boom, list you as well to their users. So you can get a lot of exposure to your own token pair as the network grows. Obviously you can do that in an AMM, but in an AMM, there are certain drawbacks to it, but also the network effects there are not as great, because they are usually limited to where users are coming to. So here, the users can come through, potentially hundreds or thousands of different brands and still get access to your trading token.
Okay. Yeah, no, what I take away from that is, the infrastructure that Ultrade is setting up is one that is, accessible to everyone and anyone. And, all of these brands which may set up their own suite will just be a different front end, and it will look different, but it will function the same behind the scenes. All of the order book trades will go through the same set of smart contracts. They'll be executed in the same way. And, that solves such a big liquidity issue, which we see on all decentralized exchanges on every single chain, to the point where we're building like these DEX aggregators, which are like a layer 2 of DEXs, just so people can, access all of this liquidity, when in theory it can be all integrated into a single DEX. And I think that is probably the way forward, where, all of this capital will, come together in one place, because that's where it's most efficient to be allocated in terms of volume, in terms of liquidity. Market makers want to go where there's liquidity, where people are buying and actively selling, and where there's a lot of volume. And people who want to buy and want to sell want to go somewhere where there's low slippage, and low slippage will only be achieved if there's, suitable market makers. So you're sort of killing two birds with one stone by creating an environment that attracts both sides of the market, the buyers and the sellers and the market makers.
Well, I can tell at Ultrade we like to be efficient, so we're actually killing three birds with one stone, because we actually are also working on an aggregation solution, so that regardless of how much liquidity we have in our own network, we can even bring liquidity from outside the network into it in order to provide the solution that the end user needs. Okay. So it's kind of like, we are considering Ultrade as a company, we are solving our own problem for building a DEX and bringing users by doing white label and bringing partners who have users and bring it, right? So we get the network effect. We're solving the problem for those partners. That's why they're coming in, right? So we are giving them a solution that costs nothing, takes no resources, and provides all the usability that their users need. And we're solving the problem for the user, who doesn't have to go somewhere else to trade. They can just stay in the brands that they know and like, but get all the liquidity that they need over there, including aggregation from other sources.
Okay.
So
you're literally killing all of the main issues with one solution. Because that is right. Some DEXs aren't necessarily integrated into the aggregators, or some aggregators don't consider all of the DEXs. So if there is something that does that for you, and you're using a platform like Ultrade, which gives you all the tools you need, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, because think about even aggregators, they are only useful to users who go to the aggregator to use it.
Yeah.
Here we're saying no. every partner in the network, every brand out
Mm-hmm.
there can have its own DEX, its own fees, for its own brand for its users, its internal liquidity in the network, but also still aggregate and provide aggregation without even knowing it, without having to do anything. So we're flipping it, the whole structure. We're flipping it and just distributing the ownership of these things to
Yeah.
everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no. So you're like you're abstracting away the idea of having to need to use a DEX, sorry, an aggregator to get the benefit because
Yeah,
it's already hidden behind the front end of Ultrade.
yeah.
So,
We're basically eliminating the need or the business case
mhm,
for bespoke trading venues that's all they do.
yeah.
Build their own stuff in order to do that. That's
Hmm.
just a a business model that doesn't make sense anymore, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna change it.
Yeah. No, that makes me really excited for what's to come. And I've looked at Ultrade's testnet, and it looks and it functions like all other order book centralized exchanges. I mostly use, it's a mix up between Coinbase and Binance, and you have everything you need. You have your graphs, you have, your indicators, you have your different time frames, you have your candlesticks. So what you've built is something that will actually attract the people who need it. So, I'm presuming there will be also a page for someone who just wants to do a simple AMM swap for them to
Oh
come
yeah,
to your platform, and they'll look exactly like any other AMM because all AMMs
correct.
look the same. I want this token, I'm paying in this token. They can do their swap in a few seconds and you're done. But
Yeah,
then you're also catering to, the more uh, hardcore traders, I would call them, where they're setting up different orders, limit
hmm
orders, market orders, um, fill or kill, with all of their fancy indicators and technical analysis. So you're catering for both sides of the buyers and the sellers, because even within there, some people are more detailed. They want to buy at a specific price. Some people don't care. They just want it now.
yeah.
And you're able to then offer that to everyone.
That's exactly right. And the AMM is nearly done. We're adding the aggregation
Mhm.
elements to it now. Uh, it'll actually also know how to take liquidity from the order book itself as
Okay.
well,
Yep.
and at some point also do limit orders in the AMM. Uh, and yeah, and the brand, the white label partners can literally in one click decide to
Mhm.
add the order book, to add the AMM, both of them, one of them, whichever, and it just boom appears in there and completely branded, literally one click.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. No, that's great. So you've already started partnering with some projects and some
Yes.
teams. So I want to mention in particular Algoana and Algogator. So
hmm
so what about these projects, or rather platforms, made you want to work with them? How do you see them, helping you guys as well?
Well, I mean, we've already partnered. So maybe it's important to mention that our proof of concept, kind of like our first chain, is Algorand, but we are a multi-chain company,
Hmm.
and we are working now on an EVM version as well.
Yep.
So sometime in Q2 of this year, we will or have an EVM solution launched. We're going to go to mainnet on Algorand roughly around the end of February, give or take. Uh, and we are now signing up, a bunch of white label partners on the Algorand network. Um, and yeah, so we actually already signed, I think, 12 or 15
Hmm.
partners or something like that, including Algoana and Algogator. So, in different kind of like spaces, different verticals,
Hmm.
in the NFT world,
Yep.
on Algorand, Algoana is a great project. And Algogator,
Hmm.
um, portfolio management.
Yep.
They have a great solution there. So we're partnering with some of the best
The best. Yeah.
companies out there, you know, as what we call launch partners.
Mm-hmm.
We expect to have probably between 20 and 30 of them by the time we go to mainnet.
Yeah.
We're already, like I said, I think about 12 or 15, so
Mm-hmm.
that's about half of where we want to be. And yeah, you know, we already announced several of them, and we're going to announce more over the next few weeks. And when we launch, there will literally be, you know, suddenly we just flip the switch with all of them. And when we go to mainnet, then suddenly you'll have like 20 or 30 new full-featured DeFi platforms on Algorand available to their users.
Yeah.
And once we go to EVM, I think when we go to mainnet on EVM, it'll be probably, you know, 10 times that, you know, several hundred partners when we launch on EVM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
You know,
you,
one thing I really like that you mentioned was, you know, the proof of concept is on Algorand, you know, and I think that's something super important to talk about, because I think Algorand really benefits, and it gives you the capacity to proof of concept on Algorand because it's so fast and so cheap,
yeah,
where, you know, in your testing of all your smart contracts, you can quickly, you know, deploy, test, redeploy, and iterate a lot more quickly without losing yourself on gas fees. You know, if you were doing this on, say Ethereum mainnet, or even Ethereum testnet, you know, there's a lot more friction in terms of gas fees. But now you have a solid foundation where you have a group of people that you can do a proof of concept with. You know, you've partnered with all of these projects. Algogator is probably one of my favorite ones. I use it all the time. It's, you know, I can see where Ultrade would fit directly into their platform.
mm,
And now, you know, once you've got this up and running, you can easily sort of copy and paste. Of course, there's dev work for the smart contracts in the back end.
yeah.
But you know, it's you have a model which you have proven
It's called
works.
product market fit, my friend.
Exactly.
Product
Yeah.
market fit. We have product market fit. It's clear
Hmm.
that you know, brands, Web3 brands out there need this solution,
Yeah.
and they are very interested and eager to join and use it. And you know, it's literally
Hmm.
product market fit. And now, you know, going to EVM will just give us the access to networks that are, you know, drastically larger as
Hmm.
well. So, you know,
Yeah.
Ethereum, Polygon, Binance
Hmm.
Smart Chain,
Yeah.
and a few others. Um, Once we launch EVM, I think we're going to have literally by end of this year, I think we will be at hundreds of white label partners, if not
Hmm.
more than that.
Wow. I'm super excited to see, you know, how the impact that you know, Ultrade could literally take the DeFi space entirely by storm. And, you know, it has the capacity to blow out some of these really old incumbents kind of out of the water. You know, Uniswap, 1inch, like PancakeSwap on Binance, you know, SushiSwap on Polygon, you know, all of these old DeFi platforms now have something that they need to, you know, look at and say, okay, you know, this is, you know, potentially a threat to our business model and what we're doing, because they're, you know, solving a lot of these problems that people are having. And I can see the impact that it could have, you know, by the end of this year. So I'm really excited to see that.
I
Um,
am as well.
yeah. So you're tell me more about the current state of Ultrade. So you're currently on testnet on Algorand?
Yeah, we are on
Hmm.
testnet. We've had, I don't know, more than 10,000 active accounts already
Wow.
during testnet, with hundreds of thousands of trades.
Hmm.
And yeah, we've done, you know, we've had a lot of feedback from users, bug reports,
Hmm.
you know, suggestions, etc. Literally thousands
Yeah.
of suggestions and feature requests and so on. So it was very encouraging. And yeah, we're going to go to mainnet. I think, as I said, we're working towards end of February.
Yeah.
roughly, right? And we're not launching our token yet because market conditions are just not right for it.
Yeah.
But hopefully sometime this year, we'll
Mm-hmm.
see how the market is and when is the right time to do so. And by the way, interestingly, the token itself is also I would say kind of an innovative,
Mm-hmm.
has an innovative B2B model where
Okay.
uh, all the white label partners, if they want to gain a higher percentage of the rev share with us, they need to stake our token
Mm-hmm.
in order to maintain a higher rev share, up to
Right.
90% of the revenues.
Okay.
So as a company, we actually have a viable, real business model
Mm-hmm.
and utility for the token, um, which is not necessarily true for a lot of companies out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's I
Mm.
think a lot to look forward to this year,
Yeah.
um, and we're doing whatever we can to make it a reality.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. I agree with you about, with the market conditions not being right for a token launch. And, you've mentioned that, I heard this elsewhere as well, but, as you mentioned, projects can stake, the Ultrade token to get more of the revenue share, which I think is, a unique business model that no other project really has. And coupled with, the other aspects, which I assume will be, some form of governance, as
Yeah,
well. I think you have the makings of a really strong decentralized protocol where the users can actually have a say in, or rather the partners can have a say in how the platform develops, and also how they want to take the platform forward, because each of these partners can literally cater the suite that they offer to exactly how they want to offer it to their clientele, to their viewers, to their listeners, to their
mm,
fans. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is giving these places an opportunity to leverage their brand while also gaining tangible benefit from it.
yeah, I agree.
um Dan, it's been great talking to you. I'm a bit wary of time. We're coming up to about 40 minutes.
Oh well.
Time has actually flown by very, very quickly. For people who want to find out more, where is the best way to find you guys? Your socials, your Discord, what's the best place?
I mean, our website has a lot of info and, of course, links to all the socials. So just ultrade.org. Um, and, we have Twitter, we have Discord, we have Telegram. All of that is accessible through the
Hmm.
website. And the testnet, of course, if someone wants to kind of play around with it
Hmm.
and get a sense for it. Any project out there, Algorand or otherwise, or any KOL, influencer, anybody
Hmm.
who wants, has an audience and wants to provide a DeFi solution under their own brand to their audience is welcome to reach out to us, through any of our channels to maybe join our closed beta
Hmm.
as a white label partner. So yeah, just go to the website, ultrade.org, and we'll be happy to talk.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I'll be sure to include those links in the description below for anyone who wants to check them out. But Dan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to sit down and speak with me.
Same here. I really appreciate it, and would love to talk soon again. Whenever we make some progress in news.
Yeah, no, for sure. That'd be